to 1041, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I am not.
We're live.
Okay. Brett Lacey, B-R-E-T-T, first name, spelling, last name, L-A-C-E-Y, fire marshal for the City of Colorado Springs Fire Department. We're out here at the Ackerman fire, which is on the east side of Colorado Springs. This fire started around 11:19 a.m. A rough count right now is just over 25 acres. The fire basically started around the Stetson Hills area, going up Sand Creek, basically north to Dublin, for those that have a map that can look at that. We notified and evacuated around 500 homes. We don't have an exact count at this time. That would equate to roughly 1,000 plus people who were evacuated. We responded with 26 fire units, which included fire engine companies as well as our brush trucks. That's roughly 70 plus or minus individuals, firefighters that were on the line with that apparatus. I want to thank our cooperators, the Colorado Springs Police Department, as always, who are our steadfast partners. We had roughly 100 officers who assisted in the evacuation and cordoning off that area for safety of that area, so I want to thank them especially. We also had a number of mutual aid, what we call companies, units that came in from other departments. Those were Cheyenne Mountain Fire Department, Fountain Fire Department, Manitou, Fort Carson, Colorado Springs Utilities, Black Forest, and some others. So we also had Cimarron Hills and Black Forest, who also backfilled a couple of our fire stations. As you can imagine, fire of this magnitude creates large openings in the city coverage, and so we need to make sure that we provide resources to cover those stations because other emergencies continue to happen and come in. I want to thank the Vibes, which is we're at the baseball stadium here on the east side of Colorado Springs. They opened up their facility. In fact, I believe it's game day right now, but they opened up their doors to provide food and refreshments to individuals evacuated from that area, as this is a safe haven, nice location close by for the residents. So that, again, is a great example of the City of Colorado Springs, their residents and businesses. I want to thank the residents who heeded the evacuation and left. That makes it easier for us to our job. We don't have to worry about those individuals. I will state, while I don't have any details on that right now, at the same time we had another very severe fire more in the central north part of town, which involved a trailer park. Other details will follow on that, but I can't say enough about the Colorado Springs Fire Department and the Colorado Springs Police Department, because we had evacuations occurring in both areas at the same time. In this fire, the Ackerman fire, we had only a couple homes that were slightly damaged. There were some fences that were burned and potentially destroyed, but we were able to protect all of the homes of the residents that were affected by this fire. So the quick response of our department, the awareness and behavior of the residents in the area, as well as our partners with Colorado Springs Police Department and our other mutual aid companies, our regional partners helping us out as well, is critically important during these dangerous fire weather days. So that's what I have to release. Are there any questions?
Right now, do you guys, I can't remember if you said this, do you have a rough estimate of the acreage?
The acreage is just over 25 acres right now, but that's a very rough estimate because we still have hot spots in there and we've not gone through and walked the entire fire perimeter. But pretty much it consumed much of the draw, that drainage, all along Sand Creek.
Do you guys know what started the fire?
We do not know what started the fire at this time. We have 2 fire investigators on scene that are working to narrow that down, and I'm hopeful that we will come up with a cause for this fire before the end of the day.
Being that there was public land involved with that trail and then all those homes and there was a ton of traffic, can you touch on how big of a difference that makes to have to get there in such a hurry?
I'm not sure that makes a difference for us, because our crews are very familiar with a lot of the access ways, the trailheads, the trails that are established. Unfortunately, we respond to those regularly, whether we're helping people at medical events or, regrettably, additional fires. So the rapid nature of that response comes from our familiarity, our pre-planning, and our communications.
So we've had a bunch of these really big wind events over the last couple of months, and then here even earlier this week. And so far, the city has, more or less managed to, come through without any very, very, very serious things. You must have been worried this whole time, and do you continue to worry as you look forward to the next day, the next 24, 48 hours as the wind continues?
Fair question. So as you know, we are continuing to conduct public meetings at night, living with wildfire. The reason why we initiated those is about a year ago. We know the weather patterns are continuing to fight against us, and we were preparing that presentation, and we've been doing that. We have had fires every single day. I believe that we've had red flag days. Our communication to the public, and I would say it's along the entire state of Colorado that are under these conditions. We are very concerned as the fire service in the state of Colorado. We implore everybody to be very, very careful with fire, to heed any of the restrictions that are in place. Because these wind events, the low relative humidity, which I might add was 1% to 2% today, which is terrifying to the fire service, not to mention the winds, and we've had elevated temperatures. So our vegetation moisture is decreased severely. And I know all of the weathercasters speak to that, the newscasters, all of you have been doing a great job. I can't emphasize this enough. The public needs to take this seriously, be extremely careful with all potential ignition sources. We need help with this. These two events seriously depleted the city of Colorado Springs resources, and we are a large metropolitan city. We are concerned about this. We've been concerned about it. We are asking for the public to help us with this as much as possible.
What is the containment of the Ackerman fire?
We have no containment at this point in time. I think we have some degree of control, meaning that I think we've taken care of a lot of the boundary work. Again, we still have hot spots that are in the fire area. It's going to take us a number of hours to make sure we grub some of those roots and the down trees that are in there, as well as the bushes and the scrub oak. So it's going to be some time before we would issue a containment time.
Is the evacuation still happening right
The
now?
evacuation is still firmly in place. We want everybody to stay out. We've got a lot of work to do in there. We've still got the high winds, as you all are seeing. We will let everybody know when we are done. But it is not a time to be breaking the traffic control points that the police department has set up and trying to go back in. Everybody needs to understand this is disconcerting and it's uncomfortable for people when you have to leave your home. Our message is you've got to be prepared. You've got to be thinking about this. These fires are occurring all over town, whether it's in the wildland-urban interface or it is in the prairie-urban face, which we attribute to as the PUI. Okay, I'm saying that to everybody. The WUI and the PUI is dangerous right now in these conditions. Everybody in the city, as well as the county areas, need to be having a plan for what to do in the event of an evacuation, prepare for wildfire, think of things well in advance. When we issue an evacuation, that is for life safety. It is not a time for you to come pack your bags, get your 3 cars, and leave. When we say evacuate, everybody needs to go, and that is a statewide message.
I imagine part of the reason you mentioned the prairie-urban land interface is because some people, it may be a perception that grass fires aren't as dangerous, but in fact they absolutely can be just as dangerous.
For a number of years, we have killed more firefighters in the United States Fire Service in grass fires than we have a lot of our larger wildland fires that are up in the wildland-urban interface. Grass fires are serious because they spread rapidly. That is all involving flashy fuels. That will travel at the speed the wind is blowing. And so the grass fires are just as dangerous, if not more so in many instances, as was evidenced by the Marshall fire. We've got to do what we can to keep debris and trash and stuff away from our homes because the grass will move up there. It's the embers that basically ignite the fires, or it's overgrown grass and weeds and duff and leaves and pine needles up against the house that cause the house to ignite. Everybody needs to take a step in sharing the responsibility with us to clean up their homes. That stacks the deck better in our favor. So we just ask everybody to help us with that.
Can you kind of talk a little bit about the difference between containment and control?
So I would say control means that we are getting the main body of fire that we can see knocked down and out. Containment is when we are certain that the fire is not going to leave any of those outside lines, and that requires us to both scratch the ground. We've got to uncover roots. We can have fire that can burn for several days underground through the root system, just like a punk that we use in our house or incense, right? It will continue to burn through and it can pop back up someplace else. So until we are certain that we've got a good wet line all the way around, that we have no more hot or combustible vegetation that could be smoldering or burning, we're not going to issue any containment percentage or times.
Do you foresee that the families will be able to return to their homes anytime tonight?
I don't want to say anything about that. I've not spoken with the incident commander, so I don't know a time that we will allow people in. What I will guarantee is as soon as we are comfortable and it is safe to go back in, we will allow people to enter those areas, whether that is by phasing or as the whole area is contained.
Do you know if the fire happened near like a home or in the middle of a field somewhere?
I have no details of the origin and cause of the fire at this time, but we are working that actively.
Any injuries?
There were no injuries that I am aware of, either to residents or to firefighters at this time.
Like you'd say, it's game day, so the evacuees are going to get to see some baseball anyway?
It sounds like they are, and I can't thank the Vibes enough for opening their doors to come in to the people that were displaced from their homes. Convenient a game is taking place, but again, I want to thank the public for listening to the evacuation notice as we've been talking about that extensively in Colorado Springs.
And real quick, when did the fire start? You know,
Fire started at 11:19 a.m.
Just a quick question. It's something I just thought about. Anybody who has like lots of pets, are they able to bring them here as well?
I would say no. This is not a place where, pets are done. Sheltering of pets or even leaving them at home is a better thing to do in this instance. People don't like to do that because the pets are important, but whether they stay in the car, I don't want to speak for the Vibes. They're being nice enough to let people come in. I'm not sure that they want an active zoo during the baseball game is what I would say there. Okay, that's about it. I've got to get to another location. Thank you all for your time. Captain Smaldino, our information officer, will be the one to stay in touch with, and whether we decide to have another briefing at a later time, he can let you know. Okay? Thank you all for your questions and patience. And your sore knees.
Gosh,
No, they're
knows.
not.
He gets it.
They're okay.
Sorry,
My foot was falling asleep.